The challenges of our time, man-made financial, societal, environmental crises, as well as devastating wars, can seem overwhelming. Many people feel angry today at the astronomical cost of wars and leaders' inability to stop the fighting, at the escalating daily increase in the cost of living, and the waste that's polluting our oceans. People are angry that the rich get richer while the poor get poorer, angry that little is being done about global warming, angry that human beings are harming the planet and each other, not to mention what the neighbours do. So there's a lot of anger around. And we're often so stressed that we take out our anger on other people who we wouldn't want to harm or damage. Afterwards, we may feel terrible remorse. Anger is a huge force of energy. So this module asks how we can use that energy more positively. The greatest leaders and teachers know that the force of anger can be transformed into a fuel for change. Does this sound odd? Well, let's look. Let's see what can happen when we examine and try out some of the methods that they use. For example, what can happen when we learn not to spray out our fury over other people, but rather move it into our own inner engine where it can become fuel, and fuel to drive our purpose in life? We shall see what the great Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh learned about his own anger as he struggled to stop the bombing of his homeland in Vietnam. So do join us in an adventure to tap into the power of transforming anger by using it as an inner power to be used as fuel for bringing about change in the world. The people I love and admire the most are those who've transformed their anger into courage. The courage to act, to do something however small or grand, to change what seems overwhelming. They discovered the energy latent in their fury. I revere those who speak out about what is clearly wrong, who face any criticism they may get from vested interests, and I respect those who find good, practical solutions and get on with carrying them out in this time of confusion. And one of my heroines, not from history, but live and very active today, is a woman who's transformed her anger, the hurt and damage she suffered growing up, into a magnificent fuel for change. Her name is Deeyah Khan, and she's a 2-time Emmy Award-winning and twice BAFTA-nominated documentary filmmaker. She's considered one of Norway's most successful filmmakers, having won 27 major awards and received an additional 12 nominations for her work as a filmmaker. Now, she was born in Norway to immigrant parents of Pashtun and Punjabi ancestry. Deeyah's experience of the challenges of living between different cultures has shaped her artistic vision, and she converted her outrage at the death of a young Muslim woman in London who was killed because she refused to marry the person her family intended. She made this into a documentary called Banaz, A Love Story, and it earned Deeyah her first Emmy Award. Her second film, Jihad, was nominated for a BAFTA and involved 2 years of interviews and filming with Islamic extremists, convicted terrorists, and former jihadis. For her most recent film, which is called White Right, Meeting the Enemy, Deeyah travelled to the US to film with neo-Nazis, including attending the now infamous Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville. While she, as a Muslim woman, was filming neo-Nazis, she thought, I'm not going to make it. This film won her a second Emmy Award and a second BAFTA nomination. And as you'll see from her face in the photo, she has also become a deeply perceptive and kind human being and a remarkable leader and a mother to her own daughter, who's travelled with her right across the USA to make these films. I want to pause there while you have a look at her face in the image. Decca has made 4 documentaries to date. All have been shown on ITV in the UK as part of the Exposure series. And she's the founder of Fuse, which is a media and arts company that puts women, people from minorities and third culture kids at the heart of telling their own stories. In short, Dia has managed to transform the outrage of her childhood and teenage years into art that can enable profound understanding between cultures. And this is the foundation of what we're talking about in this module. And here's how you might build the same skill. Anger and outrage is like gasoline. If you spray it out over people and then light a match, there'll be an inferno and people will get hurt. But if you put it in your engine as a fuel contained in your carburetor, if you like, it can drive you forward. It can enable you to pick yourself up when everything goes wrong. It can get you up in the morning when you feel too tired to go on facing the music. To do this, we need to become constantly aware of our anger, constantly keeping it inside and constantly cleaning it. By that I mean watching carefully to see that the anger is not personalized, that it's not directed at an individual, but that it's directed at an action, at some wrong that's being done. Then it will be clean, and it can cut through the rationalizations, the explanations, and it can demand change. That is anger working on behalf of love. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh spent his early life in Vietnam, furiously trying to stop the bombing, rescuing thousands of refugees adrift and starving, and eventually he was sent to Paris to the peace talks to help negotiate an end to the war, for which he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Martin Luther King. Here's what he says about anger. If your house is on fire, the most urgent thing to do is to go back and try to put out the fire, not to run after the person you thought was the arsonist. If you run after that person that you suspect has burned your house will burn down while you're chasing him or her. That is not wise. You must go back and put out the fire. So, when you're angry, if you continue to interact with or argue with the other person, if you try to punish her, you are acting exactly like someone who runs after the arsonist while everything else goes up in flames. That's Thich Nhat Hanh on anger. He also has advice on what to do with your own anger, which I find very useful. He says, anger's like a howling baby, suffering and crying. The baby needs his mother to embrace him. You're the mother of your own baby, your anger. The moment you begin to practice breathing mindfully, in and out, you have the energy of a mother. You can cradle and embrace the baby of your anger. Just breathing in and breathing out is good enough. The baby your anger will feel relief right away. So here's what happened to me one day in August 2020. I had a terrible disagreement on the phone with one of my closest friends. I was left seething with frustration, accusation, self-pity, and red-hot fury. There was a ball of pain in my solar plexus. I couldn't face doing anything constructive, like going for a walk or working in my garden. Eventually, I sat down to ask myself, what is the root of this fury of mine? And what came next was an entire surprise to me. I can only suggest that the answers below, while clear and cogent, must have been coming from my higher self or guide. So here's the conversation. Me, what is at the root of this fury of mine? Answer, not getting what you wanted, unreliable friends, facing loneliness. Me, but what am I supposed to learn from this? Answer, relearn where your center of gravity is. Me, what? What is my center of gravity? Answer, base on the ground and direct the vertical to the infinite. Me, what does the infinite really mean? What does it give? Answer, global view. See what's actually happening. Lift your sights. Me, when I look, I see all this pain, terrified, pregnant migrants in the dinghies in the channel, Lebanese people blasted when they have nothing, searching for their children. Why, when it's not their fault? Their rulers are corrupt. Why should innocent people suffer so much? I want to know what it means. Answer, what do we all have to change to live harmoniously? Let go of your ego. Dissolve me, mine, what I need, including judgments. Me, but that's what women do habitually. Then others will just take advantage, take more. What progress is that? Answer, the need, the anger, the revenge needs to be held in your own energy quietly until it changes. It will. Me, okay, I'm holding it in my solar plexus. I feel confronted with my need for friends, fear of aloneness, my need to be needed, my need to be a teacher, to be right, to be popular. If I watch those needs now, they feel like they're going round and round in a tumble dryer. Then I find I want to do something normal, like go for a walk. Who with? Would I be enough? Go for a walk, just with me? Answer, who is the me you'd like to go for a walk with? And I discovered eventually that I liked this me, an emptier, calmer, clearer me who was not angry or furious now. So here's what you might be and what you might do. Keep this exercise handy for the next time you feel angry. And you'll need a pen and paper. As soon as you feel furious, seething, or just plain irritated will do, feel the fury and the anger and the irritation. Where is it in your body? Write it down. Go somewhere where you're alone and can't be seen or heard, and move. Jump up and down, wriggle, squirm, run as fast as you're able. Now come back to this page and ask yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this? Go quiet, listen. Listen again. The voice of truth often speaks in a whisper. Write down what the voice of truth said. All of it. Act on it. It's fuel for your energy. It's fuel for your engine. This module links closely to Module 2 on listening, as you probably gathered. Why? Because when you're in a confrontation, and when we become able to listen to our opponent's fears and pain, we're suddenly able to make a shift to not react. One wise friend of mine says, "The only thing that can change my mind is my heart." Once again, the wisdom of the heart to the rescue. Anger as a fuel can achieve astonishing results, can bring about real change in the world. Think of Rosa Parks, who helped initiate the civil rights movement in the United States when she refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. Her actions inspired the leaders of the local black community to organize a massive bus boycott, which ended only when the US Supreme Court ruled that bus segregation was unconstitutional. Whew. Over the next half-century, Rosa Parks became a nationally recognized symbol of dignity and strength in the struggle to end entrenched racial segregation in the States. An example to the world. Your anger transformed could be that powerful. Thank you.